Have you ever been let down by someone who was there to lift you up? My teacher told me that I was fat. I grew up not too far from here, and I was learning to write using an ink nib. I was overweight, I didn't have much confidence, didn't really believe in myself, but I was practicing, I was trying my very hardest to make that writing the best it could be. And the teacher asked me to come to the front of the class, and he dictated a sentence for me to copy out. And he said, do it in your very, very best writing. And the sentence went something like this: remember to hold your pen at just the right angle, otherwise it will end up just like you, fat. I'll never forget that experience. But what it taught me was that I could be something. I felt alone and ashamed, and it actually reinforced the story that I told myself every day, that I was disconnected, I was alone, and that wouldn't amount to much. I didn't believe in myself, and neither did anyone else. And that experience took me far away from flourishing. I was told by someone I thought that was there to serve me, to guide and inspire, that pretty much I was fat. But since then, I've had some amazing experiences, and I've learned from some amazing people about what amazing public service is in this very city, and many of them are in the room today. And what I learned was that we all have the ability to serve the people and the places that we love. In fact, it's a superpower. And it's that superpower that I want to share with you today. That's the big idea. We all have a superpower to serve. And that superpower, place-based public service, is the renewable energy that powers a flourishing world. So, what's the superpower made of? I'm going to share with you what I've learned about what it's made of. And I think there's three fundamental components and elements that make up the superpower. The first is believing. And this is about choosing a mindset that's hopeful, coming from a place of love, of kindness, and compassion. It's about believing in the potential of ourselves and of each other. It's about believing in the power of what is possible. And the second element of the superpower is belonging. This is about feeling connected. It's about feeling seen. It's about feeling heard, and connecting with ourselves, with people in our places and our communities, and connecting with the planet. It's that sense of rootedness and that sense of identity. Fundamentally, it's about relationships. And the third element is becoming. Becoming is about unlocking our innate ability and our agency to make things happen, to make change, to act, and to realise the power of what is possible. Do you believe in that superpower? It'd be easy not to, because we're bombarded daily by a diet of information and misinformation. And it tells us how disconnected we are from each other, how trust is collapsing everywhere, and how everything is broken. And the danger, if we believe and we buy into that story, is that we retreat further into ourselves, into inaction, into unkindness and cynicism. And if we do that, and we believe in that story, the risk is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It might benefit the 1%, yes, but it'll take the 99% further away from flourishing. Or we can choose to believe in the superpower. We can choose to believe in each other. We can choose to believe in the power of what is possible. We can choose to act. We can choose to come together. And if we choose to believe in that superpower, we can all become the creators of a flourishing world. But you don't have to just take my word for it. The superpower doesn't just exist in the movies. If we're curious enough to look, it's everywhere. For example, in a place not too far from this very room, a once threatened public service is now a vibrant community-run library with brilliant volunteer Liz at the helm. And that volunteer library doesn't just improve individual lives, it strengthens community bonds. How did that happen? Well, the community believed that it was possible. The community came together. They acted. And now that once threatened public service is a vibrant community hub with over 80 services being delivered from it. And in the process, strengthening community bonds, helping people with their mental health, well-being, exercise, arts and crafts. So it's happening everywhere. So the more I've looked at examples like that, and the more I've paid attention to those examples in this very city, across the country and across the world, the more I've realised that the most powerful change happens when we show up right here, right now. But again, don't just take my word for it. It's evidence-based. Research from positive psychologists shows that we flourish when we feel that sense of connection, that sense of purpose, and we feel that we have agency to act and make a difference, to make a change. And that's supported by evidence from the OECD that shows when people have a strong sense of local engagement and connection, they live longer, they're healthier, and they're wealthier. So it's not just feel good, it's evidence-based. Even better than that, you don't need my permission, you don't need anyone's permission to do it, to use your superpower. Because we often think of service as something that's remote, it's distant from us, it's done somewhere else. Someone imposes those ideas and constraints on us about what we can and can't do. But we don't need that. We don't need that permission. I think of service like being a gardener. You don't need to be a superhero, you just need to be a gardener. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? Well, if you're a gardener, you believe in the potential of what that garden can become. You understand what all the different components need, all the plants in that garden. We get our hands dirty in the soil. We understand what each of those plants needs to flourish. We know where to water, we know where to weed, and we understand the interconnections. And we remove the things that are going to stop that garden from flourishing. So, we need more gardeners. Just be a gardener. So, I'm going to share with you now some examples, some brilliant examples of the superpower in action in this very city. But before I do that, I just want everyone to think, just for a second. Think about a time when you believed in something or someone believed in you. Think of a time when you felt a true sense of connection to somebody or something. Think about a time when you took action, when you did something you believed in and made something happen. How did that make you feel? Did that feel like flourishing? What if we had that feeling every day? So I'm going to tell you 3 stories now about the superpower in action in this very city. And the first one is Glyn's story. And this is about believing. I've got an amazing, inspirational friend, Glyn, who's in the room somewhere, hopefully today. And Glyn's been through a lot in his life. Some real challenges. Trauma, addiction, well-being challenges. But he's come through them all with a resilience and a courage that you can only admire and be awestruck by. And now Glyn is a shining example of the superpower in this very city in action. But the thing that struck me most about Glyn's story was, what did it take for him to be on that path to wellness and recovery? Well, what he told me was it took people to believe in him, to connect with him, to be kind to him, to believe that he could achieve and what was possible for him in his life. And now, Glyn is a shining example of the superpower in action, helping hundreds, and through PFG and the amazing peer support that they provide, thousands of people in this very city move closer to flourishing. Someone believed in Glyn. And the second story that I want to share with you is about shaping Stainforth. And this story is about belonging. Again, an amazing example of the superpower in action in this very city. And the thing that most impressed me about this story was it's an exemplification of the community coming together, feeling a sense of belonging, and using that sense of belonging and that connection with place to make a change. And that amazing initiative has helped young people, and we've got some examples in the room today, 2 amazing apprentices who, from the community, now working, doing the degrees, apprentices, and working in the City of Doncaster Council. And we've got pioneers like Emma and Karen in the room, and Vanessa today, working every day to make this kind of thing happen. And Shaping Stainforth is a great example of the community coming together and feeling like it belonged. And the third example I want to share with you is about Save Doncaster Sheffield Airport. So some of you might say, what's a campaign to save a regional airport got to do with human flourishing? Well, it's got everything to do with human flourishing. And the brilliant local businessman, Mark, set up Save DSA in 2022. And I'm going to reel some stats off to you now. Not only did that amazing movement generate 130,000 signatures on a petition, not only did it maintain, and has it maintained, a Facebook following of 35,000 people, not only has Mark met the Prime Minister, but that movement has played a major role in ensuring that the airport is on the verge of reopening. That's not what's most impressive, though. What's most impressive about Save DSA is the way that Mark and the people connected to it went about it. They maintained a singular focus and a purpose that this was the right thing to do, maintaining their kindness and humanity at all times in the face of some very difficult and challenging circumstances. Because they believed that it was possible for the airport to reopen, not just so we could all go on our holidays somewhere from the city, and by the way, one of the most popular airports in the country, but not only that, because that airport would power flourishing in this city. It would help many, many young people, not just now, but well into the future, with hope, with jobs, and with future prospects. And now, that our airport, Doncaster Sheffield Airport, is on the verge of becoming the country's first people-powered airport. And in this story, the community stood up for what it cared about. So, going back to that shy, overweight, big-boned, my mum and dad said, 12-year-old, what was it that took me to change the story that I told myself, that one of unkindness and disconnection and cynicism? Well, what it took for me to believe was for people to show their faith in me. Just as someone believed in Glyn, it took some very special people to come into my life at various times and show that they believed in me, and they saw something that was possible. And there's just a selection on the slide there. So throughout my life at school, at college, and in work, just when I needed it, people came into my life and believed in me and saw something and saw some potential. And that allowed me and helped me to believe in myself. And now, I've never felt more connected or more hopeful. And now, I see that every conversation, every shared meal, every small act of kindness is part of the power that fuels human flourishing. And I have the pleasure and the privilege of serving this city every day to help it to become the best that it can be. So, you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need £1 million grant. You don't need a policy manual. You just need to believe. You just need to connect with others. Those brilliant examples that I've been sharing with you today, those guys, those examples, they're pioneers of the superpower in action. And they're building a flourishing city in front of our very, very eyes. Because the superpower, place-based public service, is the shortest thing and the best thing we can do to take us from the world that we now live in to the flourishing world we want to create. So, I challenge you all, everyone in this room, in the next 7 days, to connect with the passions in your place and in your work and do something small. It might be a conversation. It might be helping out in your community. It might be volunteering. It might just be spotting somebody who needs a cup of tea or a cup of coffee who you know is struggling. Think about how you could be a gardener. Think about what you could do to make a difference. And those examples that I've shown in this very room today, this small group of committed individuals have changed our city, just as you can. Because the power of place-based public service doesn't just help people, places, and communities to flourish. It reminds us that we're human, that we need to connect, and most crucially of all, that we're not alone. So, my challenge to you guys, how are you going to use your superpower? Thank you.